My name is Constance Kawilinga. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Campus Room 360. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm also a master certified coach. I spent 30 years inside the numbers. I worked for a big four audit firm. I also worked for a global financial services company. And the reason I mention that is I've spent all this time in the numbers, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. What I kept seeing was the same thing over and over again. Capable, hard-working South African business owners building something real, but without the financial strategy, clarity, or accountability structures that some of the big corporate companies take for granted. So that's what this channel is about. No jargon, no gatekeeping, just practical business and money lessons built for South African owners who are ready to take back control. And also, a lot of what we're going to cover here will focus on businesses that most people would walk straight past, the so-called boring or unsexy businesses. We're talking car washes, we're talking laundromats, cleaning services, security companies. They don't look glamorous, but here's what they have in common. Customers who pay regularly without thinking twice. A lot of the times, subscription-based businesses or just regular customers. And if you build the right systems, a business that eventually runs without you having to be there every single day. Now that's not boring, that's wealth. So let's get into it. Stellenbosch, Makanda, Potchefstroom. These are university towns and they share something that most people don't immediately think of as a business opportunity. Tens of thousands of students, most of them in off-campus accommodation, and most of them without a washing machine, all of them generating laundry every week without fail. But this isn't only a student story. The South African laundry services industry is projected to grow at 7.7% per year through to 2030. And in a country where load shedding makes home washing unreliable, where urbanization is putting more people into apartment homes without laundry facilities, and where rising electricity and water tariffs are making running a home washing machine more expensive every year, the structural demands of professional laundry services is not going to go away anytime soon. In fact, it's growing. So today we're doing the numbers and we're looking at the competitive mode and the operating system, because a laundromat that hits break even at 34% capacity, that runs on card payments and needs only one part-time attendant to operate, is one of the most structurally sound small businesses available in South Africa right now. Let me show you why. So let's build this from scratch and let's use a 10 machine laundromat as an example. So something near a university campus. We're talking 8 washing machines, 2 dryers, operating 6 days a week, right? So let's look at the revenue numbers. Standard pricing in student markets is between 25 to 35 rand per wash, 15 to 20 dollars per dry cycle. So let's use 30 and 18, right? And a student who does a wash and dry pays 48 rand. If 80% of customers use the dryer, the average revenue per visit is approximately 44 rand. So stay with me. And then let's talk throughput. A front loader cycle runs between 45 to 60 minutes, and with gaps between customers, let's say capacity is 5 to 6 loads per machine per day. Now that's a realistic operational target. So again, this is 8 machines at 5 loads each. So that translates to 40 loads per day in total, right? And at 30 rand per wash, that's 1,200 rand per day easy. And then if you add the dryer revenue from 32 of those 40 customers, that's 18 rand, which translates to 576 rand per day for the dryer. So the total daily revenue target throughput is about 1,776 rand per day between the dryer and the washer. You still with me? Now let's look at the costs. A commercial washing machine, so we're looking at a brand like Speed Queen or Electrolux. Those are common South African brands to use in a laundromat. That costs between 25,000 to 60,000 per machine, brand new. And then if we're looking at a 10 machine setup, financed over 5 to 7 years, we're talking 5,500 to 9,000 per month in financing, equipment financing. And then if you're renting near a university campus, we're talking about 6,000 to 12,000 per month for a 60 to 80 square meter space. Call it 8,000 rand per month. Right? You're still with me. And then let's look at the utilities. Each wash cycle uses roughly 60 to 80 liters of water and about 0.5 to 1 kilowatt of electricity. And each dryer cycle uses about 3 to 5 kilowatt hours. So for a 40 load per day operation, utilities are going to cost you roughly 4,000 to 7,000 per month. And this is your most volatile cost line. And then you get one part-time attendant, you pay them 4,000 to 6,000 per month. Then maintenance, you're looking at about 1,500 to 2,500. So maintenance and consumables. And then your total monthly cost approximately are going to be between 24,000 to 36,000 per month. So a well-run South African laundromat operates at profit margins of between 20 to 35% margin, which is what you're building towards. So if we use a 30,000 as our baseline cost divided by 26 operating days, that translates to about 1,154 per day to break even. Now remember, we said our target revenue, realistic revenue, is about 1,776 per day, and so our target baseline cost per day 1,154 rand to break even. So at 44 rand per customer visit, that's 27 visits per day just to break even. So I hope you're still with me. So 27 visits across 8 machines is 3.4 visits per machine per day. Pretty doable, and that's about 34% of the theoretical capacity. So in laundromat, that is 1/3 full covers all its costs. Everything above 27 daily visits is profit. Now, the student density piece, let's look at that. Let me give you some real numbers. Stellenbosch University has approximately 32,000 students per year. And then Northwest University in Potch has approximately 35,000 students. And then Rhodes University in Makanda, a smaller town but also a captive market, has about 8,500 students. University of the Free State in Bloem has approximately 40,000 students. So let's use Stellenbosch as a working example. 32,000 students. The majority in off-campus accommodation without in-unit washing machines. If your laundromat captures, let's say, 0.5% of that population as regular weekly customers, that's 160 visits per week, or roughly 23 visits per day. Our break-even was 27 visits per day. From 0.5% of one university students, you're almost at break-even before you've even had a single non-student walk in through the door. Now, the risk in the student market is seasonality. University vacations sharply reduce your foot traffic. And the solution to that is to locate near staff housing or adjacent to residential areas so non-student customers provide a base load. If you walk into a South African laundromat today, there's a good chance you'll see a coin mechanism on the machines. So you drop your 5 rand coin, you push the button, the cycle starts. Simple, proven. It's worked for decades, right? But The reality is that it's quietly costing the laundromat owners thousands of rands a month. Let me be specific about why I'm saying that. Now, coin systems that have three structural problems in the South African context. Firstly, coin security. A coin vault that fills over a few days is a target. Coin mechanism, tampering, modified tokens, drilling, mechanical manipulation, that's all documented in high traffic laundromats, particularly near student campuses. When the vault is compromised, you typically don't discover this until a cash reconciliation days later. And then secondly, coin supply friction. In many areas, customers simply don't have the exact change. And then they'll ask the attendant, and that drains the till. Or they'll leave. And that's a lost transaction that you'll never see on any report. Thirdly, machine downtime from coin jamming. One out-of-service machine during a Sunday afternoon peak represents 10% of your capacity, and that's exactly when you mostly need every machine running. Card-operated and app-linked payment systems address all these three issues. Your debit card readers integrated into machine controls using South African payment gateways like Yoko or iKhokha. These allow customers to simply tap and start a cycle. Now the transaction is logged digitally, revenue is reconciled electronically, and a transaction fee of 1.75% to 2.5% at current South African gateway rates, roughly 50 cents to 75 cents on a 30 rand wash cycle. That's negligible against the losses that a coin system silently generates. App-based systems go even further. Dynamic pricing for peak versus off-peak hours, automatic loyalty credits, digital records of every transaction, and machine status alerts sent to your phone the moment a machine goes offline. In a coin system, you find out a machine is broken from an unhappy customer. In an app system, you find out from a push notification, and you can call a technician before the next customer arrives. For students or student markets where some customers may not have a bank card, a prepaid laundry card loaded at the counter like a gift card, this keeps access broad without reverting to coins. The moat that this creates is a reliability reputation, and in a student community, word travels really fast, and the laundromat that always works, always takes cards and sends a WhatsApp when your load is done becomes the default, not because it's cheaper, but because it's dependable. And dependability done consistently, that's a moat. Let's talk about the dream versus reality for many investors. So the dream for many laundromat investors is you buy your machines, you sign the lease, you hire one person, and you collect the revenue. Mostly passive. Hey, that's your ideal. The reality, though, is they're usually fielding calls about broken machines, sometimes at inconvenient hours like 7 p.m. on a Sunday morning, or rushing in on a Saturday because the attendant simply didn't show, or discovering the drum filter hasn't been cleaned in the last 3 weeks and nobody said anything. So the gap between the dream and the reality is not the business model. It is the absence of two core systems, and we're going to talk about those. System one, the weekly maintenance checklist. One structured check every 7 days. Same day without exception. And when you're doing the check, you're looking at 5 categories. You're looking at machine performance. You run each machine through a diagnostic cycle, and you observe. You're observing the feel, the agitate, the spin and drain. Now, a drum that doesn't drain fully leaves wet laundry and a frustrated customer. Drum and filter cleaning. Lint filter and dryers must be cleaned every cycle by the attendant. The front loader drum gasket must be scrubbed weekly to prevent mold. The water inlet mesh filter must be checked monthly. Dispensers and dosing. If you offer a detergent dispensing, which is a real differentiator in a student market, you want to confirm that all the tubes are clear and auto-dosing calibration is accurate. The premises. You want to make sure that the drains are clear, the floor is dry and non-slip. These are simple things, right? You want to make sure that the lighting and ventilation is fully functional. Payment terminals and control panels, all the buttons are responsive, network connectivity is confirmed. Those are simple checks that can be done, like I said, once per week and ticked off. The weekly check for a 10-machine laundromat literally takes 90 minutes, tops, and is signed in a log. You just need to review the log remotely, and any anomalies surface in the record before they surface as customer complaints. So that's your first system. And then system 2, float management. Now the float is the cash held for giving change and petty cash purchases. It's not operating revenue and it needs to be kept separately. So the procedure is you keep a float, a fixed operating float, say 500 Rand, and you count that and you sign that, or the attendant signs that at the start of every day. They record that in the float register. And then at the end of the day, the float is replenished back to 500 Rand from the day's takings. Net cash is banked or locked. Any float expenditure, change given, petty cash used needs to be documented on a petty cash slip. When you do your daily remote review, a WhatsApp photo of the register tells you immediately whether the float is intact. And so this prevents the informal creep of till funds being used without documentation. And it's not because your attendant is dishonest, but because without a system, informality is always the default. And informality creates leakage that's invisible until you add it up over a month. Now, with the weekly machine check and the daily float procedure in place, one part-time attendant working 4 to 6 hours per day is genuinely sufficient to run a 10-machine laundromat. Their role, just customer service, daily machine observation, and premises cleanliness. And your role as the owner, a 30-minute weekly review, log check, bank reconciliation, and a call or site visit to address anything that's flagged. That's what an owner-operated business looks like for a laundromat. So there you have it. If you're watching this and thinking, I wonder where my own business actually stands on this, that's exactly why the free campus business diagnostic is designed to answer. It takes about 15 minutes of your time. It's completely free, and at the end of it, you get a personalized picture of your business health across 7 areas. The link is in the description. Take it this week, and I'll see you next time.